Hello and welcome to the AVLAND video guide to the Arcam AVR-400 networked AV receiver. We're going to talk you through some of the features of this unit, its connections and setup menus. The AVR-400 is the new starting point for Arcam AV, though it's not exactly what we call entry level. It's rated at 90 watts per channel amplification, weighs about 15.5 kilos and has Ethernet and DAB, which is very unusual. As far as I know, this is the only AV receiver at this price point with an integrated DAB tuner. It comes with the familiar Arcam FMJ styling, which was familiar to the AVR-5 and 600. You can see the input, select and volume, and all the menu mode buttons underneath a large screen rather than a selection knob. And then on the front, you've also got the power button and then an auxiliary 3.5mm input and a headphone output. Of course, it's compatible with Dolby True HD and DTS HD, and also has Dolby Volume for on-the-fly equalisation, along with 1080p Torino video processing. It's a well-built and very sturdy unit with fantastic sound quality, and it's very, very good for stereo. Moving into the back panel here, you can see the Ethernet and DAB connections above the speaker terminals, along with a USB port, which allows you for playback from portable flash drives. Unfortunately, on the AVR-400 there is no iPod digital, but you can add in iPod connectivity through the IR dock next to the RS-232 port, or with an integrated R-Cube RDAC-KW situation. You can also see there's 5 HDMI inputs with 1 out, which is compatible with 3D content and with audio return channel. And there's a Zone 2 video output and a 12 volt trigger. Okay, now we're going to take you under the lid of the Arcam AVR-400. Okay, well the first thing you'll notice obviously is the huge toroidal transformer in the front of the unit. As expected at the price point, it's very well packed out. You can see the heatsink and the small front fans to aid with cooling. The HDMI video board is actually on the top, and it might seem a little strange based on other AV amplifiers, but it's actually mounted upside down. You can see the 7-channel amplifier board at the bottom by the heatsink, and then right at the front you've got the circuitry connected by that ribbon cable. There's the circuitry for the large clear front display. The fans aren't really going to be much of an issue. It's well ventilated, but they're only going to come on at high volume and the amplifier's doing a lot. You're not really going to notice because of the volume. The silver box that you can see there is actually the DAB tuner, the Shield DAB tuner, and then you've got the what I call the custom install board in front of that with the RS-232 and IR dock connections. There's a closer look there, you can just see the amplification board. That's with those little white squares on the front of it, and then a nice close-up of the huge toroid transformer and the circuitry for the front panel display. The toroid transformer is part of the reason why the stereo performance on this unit is so good. It's very, very good to see a toroid transformer at this price point because it's not something you'd really see on many other units. The input configuration menu, well, with the input renamer you can remove the input there as well, or you can rename it. So if you didn't want BD player, you could have BDP100 for example, which is the equivalent Arcam BD player. You've got lip sync there up to 250 milliseconds. The pre-outs that actually you should have seen on the back panel on this unit. Something that surprisingly enough the AVR-500 didn't have. So it's quite good that the AVR-400 has now got that along with the DAB tuner and the Ethernet. Input trim is just if you wanted to alter the trim for if it's a loud or a quiet input there, and then Dolby Volume, which is the on-the-fly equalisation. The stereo mode is if you want to use 2.1 or just 2 channels, or if you're using a sub-satellite system together. Ultimately, you know, however your speakers are configured when you come to this as a stereo, because it's quite important to this unit, you can alter that. And then you've got your video sources and your audio source. That's where you assign the different video and audio inputs. The difference between this menu and a lot of other ones is it's quite straightforward. There's not a lot of sort of flashy diagrams, but everything that you need to know is all on the screen. The general setup, well, it's really as it says. You can, the audio HDMI to the TV there is if you want to. Sometimes you're not going to have the amp playing all the time, and you just want to have the audio run through your TV speakers. You can do that. Auto setup, well, we've not used that. There's no Odyssey here either, but that's not too bad, really, due to the type of customer, the type of product that this is, more geared towards audio quality rather than from equalisation. And with the lack of, whilst you don't see Odyssey multi-EQ XT that you'll see on other amplifiers, really I think the audio quality of the Arcam 400 means that doesn't really matter. Moving on to the speaker types, you can see here this is where you'll set the difference in the type of speakers, and using the 6 and the 7 channel, whether you're using them for bi-amping or whether you're going to use them for Zone 2. I definitely recommend bi-amping if it can be done, because you're going to improve your stereo performance an awful lot for doing that. Or you can use them if you wanted to for 7.1 if you're using some surround back speakers. Distances, again, it's as it says, it's in 30 centimetre increments, and that's the speaker position from your listening position. the front left, these are the speaker levels here. This is the test time, so you'll be doing this when you're connected up your speakers, you'll be sitting there, and that's the balance. Make sure the audio is all balanced out in between each of your speakers. The video input is for your traditionally audio only sources, so if you wanted to have a video source connected up, say the CD input or the auxiliary input because you've got a PVR or a games console connected up to them, then you can assign a different video input to those. And then the video outputs is again if the on-screen display is on in Zone 1 and Zone 2, and this is where you set the video scaling. It's the Torino video processing here, which will go up to 1080p, and so it gives you an option to keep it or change it, and it'll, you know, if your TV is not capable of displaying it. The mode, whether it's available, whether these modes are available or not, simply disable them or enable them. You'll notice here there is no Dolby Pro Logic 2Z processing or DSX, or the Odyssey DSX, which is the front height and front wide speaker processing respectively. The AVR-400 simply doesn't support those. Whether that's a huge loss or not to you depends on whether you want to have those sort of speakers there. And then the Zone 2 settings is just the source and the volumes available. The network settings, are you using DHCP or not? If you change to no, then you need to set the IP manually, and then you must reset the AVR-400 to take effect after changing the network settings. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is the network client and the internet radio. You can see it displays the volume of the unit on the top right, and then you just select into the internet radio. To get into the net input, you have to press the Shift and iPod buttons on the remote control, which will take you to the net input. You see that we're in the UK, so you just go to BBC Radio 1 or BBC 2 as we've done here. You've got the display in the top right, and then you've got the bitrate in the bottom right and the file type in the bottom left. The file types that this will actually support is compatible with MP3, WMA, FLAC and AAC with DRM10 support. And you can also check the different podcasts or podcasts for different stations. As for setting the unit up for sharing, which you'll need to do, Windows will pop up asking to see if you wanted to share it. It describes itself as an Arcam media client, but that is the AVR-400. It doesn't self-identify as a 400 straight away. Just make sure that you allow that for sharing, and then you should be able to, you see here, stream audio to it. If you didn't want to use the OSD, the GUI menu for this, then you can just use the front display of the AVR-400 itself, which we're showing you here. So just go into the music player over the network input, and then either with the front display or with the GUI, you can just browse the files as you would in your PC to go and check the different, have a look at the different sort of files, the different songs that you wanted to play, and just scroll through either by artist or by genre. We'll do it by artist here, and then just go into the folder that you want. So we'll go with Arcade Fire, I think, this time out, and then you're scrolling through with the remote control on the Arcam unit. So you just press OK when you want to listen to the track that you want to listen to, and you can see that the front screen display will come up with that, and it does still display on the front screen display the volume of the unit itself, which is at 50 it's setting out at the moment, and you can see the file type and the bitrate. Pros, really, the excellent music reproduction I think is such a main pro of the AVR-400. Its stereo performance is really quite phenomenal, something that you wouldn't generally expect from an AV receiver at this price point, but it does perform really, really well, not least to the fact it's got a Toro transformer. Obviously its networking features, the internet radio and the ability to browse files across your network is really useful, and having a DAB digital radio, well, there's very few AV receivers that actually have an integrated DAB tuner. Cons, well, the lack of audio processing. So it doesn't have Dolby Pro Logic 2Z, it doesn't have Odyssey DSX, but again, they're not discrete channels. It's not something that I think most people who are going to be interested in the AVR-400 are really going to be purchasing. And the input changing is a little slow, and is the only real negative thing I'd say about it, is that it can take a bit of time to switch between inputs, but really, if you're looking at getting something that's really good for movies and really, really good for music, then certainly the AVR-400 is the amp I'd recommend. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video guide to the Arcam AVR-400. If you'd like to see more about the Arcam range, or just to see some more video reviews, then please do visit our website, www.avland.co.uk. Thanks very much.